In this video, I'm going to compare the new Primus Lite Ultra 0.8 litre stove system with the Jetboil Stash. Now, for many years, the Jetboil Stash has been the only stove system, if you can call it that, which I think you can just about. I'll explain why I'm not sure in a minute. But the only stove system where you got the stove and the pot together, designed to work together, that was very light. It was much lighter than the Jetboil Stash, the various Primus Lite Plus, the MSR Windburner and similar. So it really had that niche of the market on its own if you wanted a small pot and stove that weighed as little as possible, that came together. Obviously, you've always been able to buy separate pots and stoves that work together fine, including these days quite a few heat exchanger pots that will save gas and boil water faster than standard pots. But you have to mix and match as you choose. These are systems designed so you don't have to think about it. You've got your stove, you've got your pot, you know they'll work together. Well, the Primus Lite Ultra is the first real challenger in that niche to the Jetboil Stash, which is why I thought I'd compare the two. Now, the stoves both have the same 4500 BTU output, otherwise they're very different. As you can see here, the Jetboil Stash is, if you like, more conventional. It's got 3 pot supports that fold out and a flame control that folds out. There's no pizza igniter. It's very simple and it's quite compact, as you can see when packed away. The Primus, which is the design they've had for years now, there's no real change over heavier stove systems from Primus, but this, as you can see, is a bit bigger overall. It has a pizza igniter, it has the fold out handle, but it's designed so that the pot locks on to the top, whereas with the Stash it doesn't. The other difference is this is, you see, quite low profile and the pot is very close to the flame. This is not that low profile. As you can see, it's a bit taller and there's a bigger gap between the flame and the pot. So very different burners. The pots are quite different as well. They're both 800ml when filled to the very brim. They're both made of anodized aluminium and have heat exchangers on the base. But the Jetboil pot, as you can see, is wider and not as tall as the Primus. It has an insulated fold-out handle that locks into place, which I really like. The Primus has a fold-out double handle, which is made of titanium, and that's quite a solid grip. It doesn't, surprisingly, at least in the short uses I've given it, get hot. I think that's why they've chosen titanium over aluminium, as well as for weight saving. Now, with the lids, both of them have advantages and disadvantages. The Primus lid is metal and it has a little fold-up clip. It's easy to take off without burning your fingers. It has a drain hole and a pour hole. The Jetboil is synthetic material. It's not so easy to get off, and it has a pour spout and a hole to let out steam in the center. The advantage of the Jetboil when it's on firmly is you can pour one-handed. Whoops. But as I say, it has to be on firmly. Let's try and get it on a bit. That's it. So once it's clipped on, say you can pour one-handed, it doesn't come off. The problem when it's full of hot water or hot food is you then do have to get it off, which requires a little force without burning your fingers. Now, the Primus you can pour from, but you have to hold the lid in place because otherwise it just comes off. It doesn't lock firmly at all. Overall, I prefer the Jetboil pot, but that's purely because of the width, which makes it easier to use for actually cooking food if you're going to be stirring it, you don't want it to stick, and for eating from if you're using it as a bowl. If you're just boiling water for, you know, boiling the bagged meals or for hot drinks, there's no advantage to this design. Now, in terms of weight, they're similar. The Stash is a bit lighter, 200 grams. The Primus Lite Ultra is 238 grams. That's for the stove, the pots with lids and the stoves. It doesn't include any carrying bags, canister stabilizers. So just the two items that are essential for use, the burner and the pot. Now, you can get a 200 size canister just inside the Jetboil. You can't get the stove in as well, and the lid only just fits. It won't fit tightly, but it will fit. As you can tell, you can't get that in there at all, but you can get a 100 size canister in here with the burner. And of course you can get the 100 size in there with the burner easily. In fact, you need something else in there, cloth or something, to stop it rattling round. Now, when you fit them, this slots on the bottom. Once it's on, it's solid. That's locked in place. It's not going anywhere. And you just twist to remove it. With the Stash, there are notches in the pot supports, and it fits onto those. So when it's upright, you know, that is quite stable, but you don't have to tip it very far before it will fall off because it's not locked in place. It is, of course, much easier to use other pots with this because effectively it's much like other, you know, three stoves with 3 pot supports. You can just put a pot on it. I mean, you can put this pot on it if you want. It will sit there, so will other pots. With this, there are 3, you can see here, little screw-in legs, which are tiny, and even though they come with this to keep them in, still I think easily lost. And you screw each one of those in, and once it's screwed in, you can then put a pot on top balanced on those, which is a bit fiddly. And as I say, I think these would be quite easy to lose. I suppose you can keep them clipped to the burner if you're going to use them a lot, or clipped to the pot handle. But even so, this is obviously a much easier unit to use with other pots. Right, well now I will attach them to canisters and see how long it takes to boil 500 ml of water and how much fuel it uses. The second one, the fuel use, overall I think is more significant. It's, you know, as I've said many times in stove reviews, a few minutes here and there in the boiling time really doesn't matter unless every second counts, which for 99% of backpacking it doesn't. Now the outside temperature is 12 degrees. There's an occasional light breeze. It's a pleasant May afternoon. So let's attach these to the canisters. I've weighed the canisters. So there you can see the two burners attached. You can see how much taller the stash is. But because of the shape of the pots, when we attach the pots, as you can see, the Primus is actually very slightly taller, but there's not that much in it. But you can see the difference there between where the heat exchangers are in relation to the burner, which should mean that the Primus, excuse me, the Primus is slightly more, or possibly a lot more wind resistant than the Stash. The Stash, which I've used for several years, has very little wind resistance, in fact. Right. So now to put 500ml in each pot. Both of them have 500ml markings inside. And that's the 500ml in there. And into there. So let us light the stoves and start the stopwatch. First thing I note is that the Jetboil is much louder than the Primus. But now we have the exciting wait for the water to boil. It's easy to see, looking at the two stoves, just how exposed the Jetboil flame is. Yeah, the Primus one is reasonably well protected, I think, from the wind. It's only a light breeze at the moment, we'll see if it makes any difference. There is steam coming out of the Jetboil, and we're just coming up to 2 minutes. Nothing with the Primus yet. Yeah, the Jetboil is boiling at 2:30, 2 minutes 30 seconds, and I can hear the water starting to boil. Let's have a look, but it's not boiling yet in the Primus. Yeah, steam starting to appear in the Primus, but we are beyond 3 minutes now. Yeah, just boiling at 3:30. So quite a bit longer for the Primus. Though, as I say, a minute's difference really doesn't matter. The key, which I'll just let them cool down slightly, and then, oh, they're cooling down quite quickly. Yeah, and then I'll weigh the canisters and see how much gas they've used. I wrote a number and the weight on the bottom of each one. And this is the Jetboil, a Stash, which has used make sure I read it right, which has used 8 grams. 8 grams of gas. And now the Primus. And the Primus has used 12 grams of gas, which I guess is because it took a minute longer to boil the water. So overall, in terms of fuel efficiency and boil time, the Slash is the better of the two. Not a huge amount in it. To say the boil time, I think, unless you're in a terrible hurry, doesn't really matter. Fuel usage would only matter on a long trip. Other factors to take into account: the cost. The Ultra, Lite Ultra, is £145. The Stash is £190. So that's a big difference. Weight, you're saving 38 grams with the Stash. It's slightly more fuel efficient, so over a long period of time you'll have to buy slightly more gas, but except for long trips, as I said, and that really matters. For me, the main difference between the two that gives the Stash the real advantage is the pot shape, but that of course won't apply to everybody. Both pots are perfectly fine. Anyway, that's how the only two really light stove systems that I'm aware of, that's how that they compare. I would still say that probably creating your own system with one of the fire maple petrol pots with heat exchangers, plus the Soto Windmaster or MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe stoves, will produce at least as good results as the Stash, will perform better in wind than the Stash, and will cost less than the Stash and not weigh that much more. But as I say, if you want just to buy a pot and stove that work together and designed to do so, these are the two lightest systems. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting, and please click like if you do, and there will be, I'm sure, more stove comparisons to come. In fact, if there's any you would like to see, please comment below and I'll see if I can fit them in. Thank you for watching.